London on a Sunday. Any other town in Britain might look much the same. Boring, do you think? Or just nice and quiet? For years, the British Sunday has amazed foreigners. For years, the British themselves have argued over it. We buy more Sunday newspapers per head than any nation in the world. Some would say that it's because we haven't anything else to do. Many clergy and practicing Christians want a freer Sunday. They consider that if you've been to church in the morning, then you should be able to enjoy yourself, if you want to, in much the same way as you would on any other day. But the British, when they had more freedom on Sundays, did not behave well. Today, almost all shops and restaurants are closed. But the Sunday Observance Act of 1624, parts of which are still in force, speaks of a disorderly sort of people, exercising and frequenting in bear baiting and bull baiting. There's nothing like that now. But are our laws outdated when today society demands that so many should work on a Sunday? Their sport is strictly limited. The legislation's involved. Rowing on your own is probably all right, and so is fishing. But no sporting event may be held, even in aid of a charity, where money is collected at the gate. No professional football, no county cricket. Museums can stay open, a fairly recent concession carried against great opposition. But theatres must stay closed. Dancing is forbidden. The opponents of our Sunday laws claim that the police have great difficulty in enforcing them, in distinguishing between the Sunday sports and entertainments that are just legal and those that are not. In particular, people from the theatre object that while cinemas remain open, even charitable stage performances are forbidden. You'll know Mr. Jack Warner for certain, but you may not know that he is the president of the Sunday Freedom Association. Now, how was it that you've come to be active in this?
Well, I'd had so many instances of artists who wanted to help on Sunday doing charity concerts, and they suddenly found they weren't allowed to, especially if they had people who had to put on a very special makeup or dress up in funny clothes, like my sisters, or like Billy Russell, or like G.H. Eliot, who's not allowed to put a black face on Sunday. I mean, it stops a lot of those people. As much as they would like to help, they just can't. They're not allowed to.
And are there other contradictions in other spheres that you object to?
Well, yes, there are. I mean, from the point of view of cricket matches, for instance, I mean, people aren't allowed to pay to go in. They can go in and pay half a crown for a deck chair to sit down on, but they're not allowed to pay at the door and pay a reasonable sum that would raise money for the particular charity.
Do you want to see a continental Sunday?
No, I don't. No, I lived on the continent for many years, and I don't want that. We don't want Sunday to be like any other day, but all we want is these small points clarified. The law not to be abolished, but to be revised, as the Archbishop said in his letter to me.
But if you want Sunday to be different from any other day, then you've got to have legislation which will demand compromises and a certain number of contradictions. Do you think that it'll ever be possible to clear those up without abolishing Sunday altogether?
Well, no. Yes, I do. I think if they had a committee to go into these small points and cutting out the cricket matches or theatre, I mean, there is the point of the publicans themselves who have their pubs open on Sunday. They want to know why a man can come in and play darts on Sunday, but he's not allowed to play snooker, which is really quite stupid, you know, if you think of it. The Lord's Day Observance Society organises opposition to Sunday reform, and Mr. Jack Warner's great opponent is the Society's secretary, Mr. Leggerton. How far would you go in defending the present inconsistencies in the law, that you may play snooker on Sunday but not darts, the sort of thing that Mr. Warner's complaining of?
We would defend no inconsistencies at all, and if the law is to be revised at all, we would say do away with those inconsistencies by doing away with all forms of amusement on Sunday.
Would that include television, for example?
Certainly.
Do you think that people ought to work on Sundays?
Only works of necessity and mercy should be done on Sundays. All other work should be done away with.
Would you allow recreation on a Sunday as long as it didn't involve employment?
I would not allow games at all, but I'm merely saying that I'm not in a position to allow anyone or to prohibit anyone from doing anything on Sunday. But it's a question of preserving Sunday as the day of rest in this nation and also as the Lord's Day.
But it's the question of what is the definition of what is a day of rest, isn't it? And harmless sport would seem to many people not to be infringing that.
So-called harmless sport always involves somebody in work and employment, and also destroys the very character of the day, which is a day of rest and quiet.
Your society must have offended a great number of people by its attacks on the royal family, from the Duke of Edinburgh playing polo.
Let me pull you up at once. We have not attacked the royal family at all in any shape or form. We have expressed our deep sorrow that they should have engaged in or watched a Sunday sport of any kind. And talking about that, doesn't polo involve a terrific amount of employment on Sunday?
Do you think it right that your society as a minority should try and enforce its views of Sunday entertainment upon the whole nation?
Before I can answer that question, you've got to prove to me that we are a minority, and in any case, sometimes minorities are right.
Do you feel isolated at all in your position now that the Archbishop of Canterbury has come out in favour of Sunday reform?
Oh, not in the least. By the way, the Archbishop in favour of reform, you say? I think perhaps it would be as well if you contacted the Archbishop and got some up-to-date information. I have a letter from him, which I received only a week ago, showing me that all this publicity concerning the Archbishop's alleged support of Mr. Jack Warner's point of view is not altogether correct.
Mr. Warner mentions charity performances. Is your conscience always clear when you stop the performance of a charity in aid of some very good cause on a Sunday?
My conscience is very much clearer when I seek to do that than I'm sure the conscience of some of those who promote so-called Sunday charity concerts are, when they're really, the object of those performances is to establish the principle of Sunday concerts.
I thought there again the burden of proof was on you if it was on me last time.
Yes, I have ample proof. I have figures showing the very small percentage of money that goes to so-called charity as a result of Sunday charity concerts.
You are encouraging legislation to enforce people to spend what you consider a Christian Sunday. Do you not think that Christianity is a matter for individual choice and not for laws?
I quite agree that the Christian faith is a matter of choice. But Sunday is a divine institution which has been given to men for their well-being. There must therefore be laws to protect Sunday from those who would exploit it for their own commercial gain.
Well, what sort of a Sunday do you want? Mr. Leggerton's defence of the present arrangements is most able and effective, and one thing is certain: we shall be saddled with the British Sunday and all its inconsistencies for many years, unless the reformers can muster the same enthusiasm as the Lord's Day Observance Society.